Okay, folks, let's bring you some other news that we're following right now. You're looking live at a New York courthouse. And the reason for that is Donald Trump is there. He's getting something he's been waiting for all week, the chance to challenge the prosecution's allegations in his hush money trial. Let's turn once again to Richard Madden, who's following all this for us from Washington. Richard, Donald Trump's defense team is now getting another crack at that key prosecution witness today. What should we look out for?
Well, right now the court's on a bit of a break, but all morning the ex-publisher of the National Enquirer, David Pecker, is being cross-examined by Trump's legal team. They're looking to poke holes in the prosecution's case and really try to normalize this seedy world of the tabloid industry the jury has been listening to throughout the week. David Pecker testified how often he used the so-called catch and kill scheme. That's buying the rights of a story to stop it from being published. He described buying dozens of stories, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to bury negative stories about politicians, celebrities, and movie stars. He even named people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mark Wahlberg. Pecker said he made an agreement with Trump to be his eyes and ears during the 2016 campaign and promised to catch and kill negative stories about him. And this morning, he confirmed he published several negative stories, fake stories about Hillary Clinton during that same election, everything from her failing health to her whole family's going to jail. So clearly we saw this contrast, positive stories about Trump, negative stories about Hillary Clinton. But turning to the focus of this trial, Pecker told the jury yesterday that he refused to pay $120,000 in hush money to kill a story about former adult film star Stormy Daniels and her affair with Donald Trump. He said he already shelled out tens of thousands of dollars to keep other negative stories of Trump from being published, and he wasn't paid back. Now, in the end, we know Trump's former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen paid the cash to keep that Stormy Daniels story quiet, and he allegedly falsified business records to hide the payment. And this is essentially the heart of the case. Now, David Pecker testified, when Trump saw Stormy Daniels being interviewed on 60 Minutes, he was outraged, and he called him saying he had an agreement that she wouldn't mention his name. Now, Trump would later deny any knowledge of this arrangement. Now, this morning, before heading into court, Trump took a few shots at the judge and the case against him before heading inside. Take a listen.
It should be over. The case is over. You heard what was said, and the case should be over. But you'll have to make that determination. I think we have a judge that will never allow this case to be over in a positive way. He's highly conflicted. The most highly conflicted judge I've ever seen.
So there he is taking shots at the judge. And of course, we're still waiting on the judge's decision on whether or not he agrees Trump defied this gag order against him. This could happen later today. Now remember, Trump is banned from making any derogatory statements against witnesses, jurors, or court staff. But attacking the judge, which he did just a few minutes ago, is apparently fair game. So the judge's options range from issuing a warning to a hefty fine, even a short time in jail. But whatever the judge decides, it will be historic, and Trump will likely use it to play the victim and whip up his base on the campaign trail.
Okay, Richard, let's talk about 9 other judges. Let's talk about the American Supreme Court, and they're dealing with another Donald Trump case, one that you've been covering extensively, this argument that Trump has presented that he has presidential immunity from any federal indictment. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, well, it was quite a spectacle outside the Supreme Court with thousands of demonstrators. But inside, the judges really sounded skeptical about Trump's claims that he is immune from criminal charges as president. But at the same time, they didn't appear to be giving special counsel Jack Smith a clear runway to pursue his election subversion charges against Trump of trying to overturn the 2020 election. Now, the judges seem to be focusing on what difference exists between official presidential acts by Trump versus his private conduct. Keep in mind, Trump appointed 3 of the judges himself, but they didn't give Trump's lawyers a pass. Now, cameras aren't allowed inside the courtroom, but take a listen to some of the hearing.
For 234 years of American history, no president was ever prosecuted for his official acts. Without presidential immunity from criminal prosecution, there can be no presidency as we know it.
If there's no threat of criminal prosecution, what prevents the president from just doing whatever he wants?
This court has never recognized absolute criminal immunity for any public official. His novel theory would immunize former presidents for criminal liability for bribery, treason, sedition, murder.
You also appreciate that we're
Yes.
writing a rule for
Yes.
the ages.
Now, what the court decides is almost as important as when they decide it. Prosecutors are hoping for a speedy trial, but we heard the judges saying they recognize the gravity of this case, so they may take their time to get it right. One option is they could strike a middle ground and send the case back to a lower court for review and more proceedings, which would certainly push the trial to start until after November's election. On the other hand, if they side with Trump, that he is immune, that basically blows up Jack Smith's entire case. But here is the thing. Trump could lose this decision, but still win. His entire legal strategy is to delay until after the election. So the longer the court holds off a decision, it works in his favor.
CBC's Richard Madden in Washington. Thank you.
You bet.